crystal ball gazing futurists have predicted that robots will one day take over your job. A mildly disconcerting idea. Perhaps a drink with friends or time with family will console you. Oh, wait, robots might replace them, too. Emotionally intelligent robots, complete with empathy. A friendly notion, they're just like us. A frightening notion, they're just like us. Two of the world's leading roboticists are here today. MIT's Cynthia Breazeal is founder and chief science officer at Jibo, where she has created a robot that plays with your kids and will be your sous chef in the kitchen. And Microsoft's Eric Horvitz has launched a 100-year experiment at Stanford studying the long-term implications of artificial intelligence. No doubt his virtual assistant, Monica, has helped him arrange meetings and organize his calendar. They're here to chat with a very real Atlantic contributing editor, Mary Louise Kelly.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Well, it's true, artificial intelligence is a provocative subject because, as we just heard, it has the power to empower people, to change our lives for the better, to make us work more productively. On the other hand, some fear it has the potential to go terribly, horribly wrong. Among those warning about the latter, Stephen Hawking, who has warned, and I'm quoting, "The rise of artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race." Just last week in London, he expanded on that and predicted, again, I'm quoting, "Computers with artificial intelligence will overtake humans, not may, but will, at some point in the next 100 years. I think we're supposed to cue the Terminator music at this point. But I can't think of two people better qualified to talk about both how far AI has come already and what directions it may be pointing us in the future. So welcome to you both. Cynthia, I want to start with you. We heard just a little bit about Jibo, which the New York Times has described as an alarm clock on steroids. How would you describe Jibo?
Well, Jibo is the world's first family robot.
Family robot.
Family robot. It's for the whole family. And even for extended families, as we can imagine, we're going into a time now where how we help to care for one another across distance is become an increased issue. But it's a helpful companion. You know, for the first time, it's bringing together the utility that we think about in terms of computerized technologies and so forth, but with this emotional quality, this kind of warm paradigm of interaction, this humanized, human-centered interaction versus technology today, which largely treats us also as technology, right? So especially when you think about the home context, what do we want the home to feel like, and how can we create technologies that promote that sensibility? You know, for me, in my own home, I'm a mother, you know, I'm the one who chooses, you know, the drapes, the technology, and all these things. Home's a special place. I've got kids, you know, and so forth. I don't want it to feel like the Starship Enterprise. Right. And there's a lot of discussion around the Starship Enterprise kind of notion of technology in the home. So I just have a very different philosophy towards that and how to create a new experience that's much more conducive to the family dynamic.
And the new experience is what? I mean, Jibo can, as I understand it, it can do everything, say, Siri on my iPhone can do. It can tell me I have a text. It can send a message. But it can do more. I mean, I gather part of what you believe is different about Jibo is that the way I might interact with Jibo in my kitchen is very different from the way I might interact with a keyboard or a mouse. It's got a face, for example.
Yeah, so, you know, in the big picture, I think we're used to this paradigm of technology as a tool. So a classic example I love to give is if you want to take a picture, you might take out your phone, and there's an app on your phone, and you step out of the action, and you take the picture. So you're using it as a tool, right? When you have a social robot with autonomy and intelligence, now it can play a role for you. It's more of a collaborative interaction. So with Jibo, again, I'm the mom. I take the pictures in the family. I'm not in hardly any of the pictures with my family. It's a big frustration for me.
Yeah.
But I can say, Jibo, take pictures. And now Jibo's the family photographer. It's playing a role. So now I can stay in the action. I can stay in the human moment. I can enjoy being in that human moment and know that those pictures are being captured for me. So that's the difference. You know, a role, a partner, a companion, a collaborator versus a tool that I have to operate. And Jibo is basically bringing the utility of the kinds of things we're familiar with apps, but bringing into this other kind of interaction paradigm. And then as an open platform, this is becoming a more and more important thread, not only for our smart devices, but Internet of Things and so forth, and now in robotics. You open that up to third-party developers, so the extensibility of Jibo can be expanded by the world, and it's not just up to the team at Jibo Incorporated. So the extensibility of that is how you can imagine over time more and more capabilities for more and more members of the family, more versatile as it grows.
Eric, let me bring you in here because you have extensive experience with developing personal assistants, less a family robot, but you have a personal assistant in your office. We had a picture up on the screen a few moments ago. I don't know if we can see that again, but it was a picture of a woman on a screen. I gather at one point your personal assistant was named Monica that greeted you in the office. This was controversial. People said, why does it have to be a woman, female assistant? So now she's a bit more androgynous. That's the old version, is that right, that we're seeing up on the screen here with the brown hair and the earrings?
Well, that's actually the current version of my assistant. It's funny, when we had a complaint about why a woman, we went to a man, Chad, and then people asked questions about that. Someone made a whole YouTube presentation about why I don't have a black assistant.
Right. Ethnic diversity
it was a black
robots,
fellow, and I said, well, if I did that, I can imagine what I'd be also.
Why not
complain,
aliens? Why not
aliens
aliens?
or cartoons. We actually have ambient computing projects that are kind of a Cortana circle hovering around your office, and that might be less controversial also. What I like about this work with the assistant is her expressions and her social skills. I'm saying her as if it's my assistant, because I depend on her daily, as do people in my office who coordinate outside my office with her sometimes when I'm busy and so on, and she can schedule and understands where I might be and how long until I get back. When I walk up to this system, there's a model of what I might forget. She's always imagining and computing with models that are trained from 10 years of data what it is I might forget that she needs to remind me about.
Like what? What has she reminded you of recently?
For example, she'll know that I know where a meeting is happening, but she might realize, given where it is, that I will not know the room number or how to get there, for example. And she'll say, but by the way, you have two urgent messages from this person, and it looks like 3 people stopped by today, and I think it was this person who came by and looking for you, and that meeting with Peter Newport, it's in this room, and she'll just have a model of how to have a nice dialogue with me about that. But people find it interesting. When I walk up to that system, the assistant recognizes me and gives me a really beautiful, warm smile in the morning and a nice British accent, says, hey, I came back from London recently. We were talking from London about this meeting. And it was like, hey, Eric, long time no see. Just even having the sense for it's been a while. I have to say that once I came in and someone was playing with the system and they turned off the smile and they changed the face a bit, I felt like, where's my assistant? And how come she doesn't recognize me? What's going on here? I became accustomed to the warmth of, like, she smiles at me.
And one thing, she's got a special smile.
So beyond
for
the
you
intelligence, I mean, there's a very beautiful social, effective component here, which is very important.
One thing that I find so interesting, it's not just that she is projecting emotional warmth and giving you that special smile when you come in, but she recognizes emotion in other people. She was saying, somebody leaves you a voicemail, she can tell, she can help you sort through, is this business, is this social? Because she can tell from the tone of voice. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and the pattern. It turns out that this assistant brings together multiple projects coalesced into sets of services that I often refer to as a symphony of intelligence. Because over the years we designed different systems. We had a whole voicemail system that was built to train on thousands of voicemail messages with machine learning to figure out how to identify when a message was a kind of a professional call or my wife calling or someone who knew me very well, personally close. And it would figure out the different pattern and tone, even the spacing of the prosody of voice. And that piece became part of this, one of the instruments in the symphony of the assistant, which plays a symphony. I often like to think, and I reflect to myself, that we are not just necessarily singular entities, but we're a symphony of competencies ourselves. And so in the same way in our AI research, we're actually trying to weave together multiple projects into these larger competencies that have social skills, that understand how to predict, that understand how to work in groups of N people, not just one-on-one, but when 3 people walk up to the system, know how to use eye contact to bring everybody together, for example.
Run a meeting.
Right,
do all
someday.
kinds of things. All right, think big with me for a second, both of you. I mean, beyond a family robot that can take your picture, or a personal assistant who's helping you track your meetings and sort your voicemail, what areas of human life do you see the most potential for AI changing, improving, making us more productive? I mean, I can think of healthcare, for example, for starters, being a big field. What do you think, Cynthia?
Yeah, so much of my work at MIT has been showing, and I think again speaking to what Eric was mentioning with the Symphony of Intelligences, when you talk about people, we require much more than just data and information, right? We're in the world of technology, where it's all about big data, data analytics, this very kind of cognitive side. But from psychology, we know that the way that human beings, the way we decide, the way we behave, it's much more than that, right? Social influence plays a powerful role. Emotional, affective has a very important role in terms of shaping our perceptions and beliefs and our motivations. And so what we're finding is when a technology can actually support the human experience much more holistically. So understanding people's emotional state, being able to address the social side of it, as in addition to the informational cognitive side, turns out people are actually more successful. They actually do better with the technology. So at MIT, we've applied this technology to create personal health coaches that can help you adhere to a diet and exercise program, learning companion robots, these kind of fluffy little characters that interact with preschool-age children to help promote literacy skills, and even help promote curiosity and curious behaviors through social modeling. So we're finding that when you compare that to something like an iPad or a screen, or even just a screen agent, people actually do better with the robots, partly because I think the mind interprets them as being that much more real because they're physical and the interpersonal is
more
there.
More closely mimicking a human-to-human
Just
interaction.
tapping into how our minds evolved to be, basically. And the more we can support that through our technologies, the more successful people are. So this is a huge insight, and there's a huge opportunity for AI that's much more humanized, much more human-centric, not to be human, not trying to, create a human AI, but to understand what people need to be successful and support people in those qualities. And I think that's the big opportunity. So whether it's education or healthcare or elder care or all of these areas of profound impact on quality of life, where we know the demand is going up, and the human professionals to meet that demand is not keeping up, we need technology to fill that gap. We know that it's affordable, it's scalable, but it needs to be the right kind of technology. So what is that?
Eric, jump in here. Are there specific areas you see the most promise?
Well, I think even in the short term, over the next 5 to 10 years, there are incredible opportunities in areas, big swaths of our world and our economy. Healthcare, transportation, and education are 3 that come to mind that make me very excited when I think about what can happen, even moving beyond this area we're talking about so far, which has been, I would call broadly, personal empowerment. We know today in healthcare, we lose about a city of Miami's worth of people to errors, avoidable errors in healthcare in this country. That was just a recent update on what we thought from the Institute of Medicine was 100,000 a year on avoidable errors. We have technologies now that we've developed that can collect data, understand how to elegantly and in a socially relevant way engage physicians to understand when there's likely to have been an error made in a hospital. In transportation, people are just trying to go from here to there. Why do we have over 2 million severe injuries in this country a year and over 30,000 deaths on roads? Even in advance of fully autonomous vehicles, complementary computing in cars to understand people's attentional patterns and understand traffic patterns and to know when to brake and to guide and remind will save thousands of lives every year. In education, one of the big challenges, and there are several, is understanding how to personalize education. Online coursework, which is very exciting now, is giving us all sorts of interesting data sets to understand how to better engage students so they understand and are passionate about topics, how to basically take people on a personal trajectory that understands particular nuances, blocks that sometimes become lifelong blocks. I'm not going past that. I'm staying out of math. Let's break through that with these technologies and understand how to personalize education.
Okay, now that you've both sold us on the wondrous potential of AI, let me throw a wrench in the works here and let you respond to two of the biggest fears that people have. One, this was summed up in a recent magazine article in Wired, and the headline was, quote, "Robot servants are going to make your life easy, then they'll ruin it." And the concern in a nutshell is they're going to steal all our jobs. I mean, this is not a hypothetical fear. You would normally be employing a personal assistant. You don't, because you got Monica in there, and she's cute.
I still have Jill. I still have Jill.
Oh.
My human being
Jill
assistant.
is your human being assistant? All right, well, we'll get to that. But Cynthia, let me let you take first whack at this. How worried should we be that robots will take over all of our jobs, put all of us out of work?
So I do think, I mean, there's just historical trends that we know. As technology advances, it changes the economic landscape. Jobs change. It's not so much that robots take away jobs, but the jobs themselves may change and people need to adapt to them. As Eric said, I think there's a huge role for these technologies in helping to educate and retrain people, which is also really important. So it's really about, there's things that people are really good at, there are things that technology are really good at. And in many cases, they're really quite separate, right? So it's really about the teamwork. It's really about how humans and these technologies together can be more effective, more productive, lead to higher quality of life for people. So understanding how that landscape continues to morph and change is important. So again, it's not so much that people are out of jobs, period. It's more like, how do we leverage these technologies to help us become more effective, more empowered over time? And that's a trend that we see through history.
Yeah, I do think that we will see, and we have seen over the last century, the borders changing as to what we automate, where intellect comes from computing systems and machinery for the actual physical force and mechanization, and what people do. And I do think that there is a big, interesting opportunity for what I would call complementary computing, where systems that work well with people form incredibly valuable, in an economic sense and in a creative sense, teams that work together. I don't see machines replacing what's human in humans forever. However, I think it would be short-sighted to say that we don't have some interesting economic challenges ahead with automation taking over large swaths of what it was that people have done over the last 100 years. What happens when all taxis in Manhattan are automated? There's no need for taxi drivers, for example, or bus drivers, but that's just one little segment of a larger world. I'm currently participating in a National Academy of Science study on the future of automation in IT and work, the nature of work. I think we're going to see some disruptive changes ahead, and I'm hoping to help, and I think we all will have to, navigate those changes that will happen as we have more brilliant machines in our midst.
Let me throw you the biggest fear of all, which makes losing our jobs look minor. We mentioned Stephen Hawking's warning that AI could spell the end of the human race. And this has to do with, as computers get smarter and smarter and smarter, do they gain the ability to start making decisions that make themselves smarter and rewriting their source code, and humans will lose the ability to keep up. And I'll quote, I mean, we heard from Stephen Hawking. It's not just him. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, has called AI our biggest existential threat. Bill Gates, your boss, has weighed in with similar fears. These are people who are A, not dumb, and B, not opposed to the advance of science. Are they wrong?
So, as an example, I've sat with Bill and we've talked about this topic, and we came out of that meeting thinking that we were actually quite aligned in our thinking. Bill basically made the comment that he can't understand why people wouldn't be interested in this and potentially concerned about long-term AI futures, and I think this is an area we have to watch carefully. I think my own sense of this is deep optimism. You know,
deep optimism.
Deep. It's human beings who are in the driver's seat. These technologies aren't going to flash out and take off in a way that are not being looked at carefully by scientists and engineers and controls. They'll be produced by computer scientists and entrepreneurs and industry over time in a careful way. And I think there will be some interesting challenges in terms of, for example, new kinds of challenges for cybersecurity, new abilities for malevolent people and actors and governments to do things that affect large numbers of people and populations. The whole notions of sorcerer's apprentice, where we tell a system to do X, and then we see unforeseen situations. We go, oh my God, all that water, what do we do with it? You can imagine situations like this. But I think that we will be marching along with technologies as we go with care. And already, even now, these kinds of comments are useful and valuable for focusing our attention on not just the upside and not just all this enthusiasm, but also on being careful with the technology. And I can go on a little bit more about this, but I want to give Cynthia some time here as well. I see our clock.
Well, I mean, so I also share the deep optimism for all the reasons that Eric shared. I mean, I do think we can speculate all we want about what might happen. I think the question is what's actionable now, and I agree with Eric. And what's actionable now is to respect the discourse and to elevate the conversation, because huge, tremendous promise, tremendous good can be done with these technologies. That's why I'm in it. This is why Eric's. I mean, we're doing it to help people, right? But we need to be mindful. Just like any technology, I wouldn't say AI is separate from what's happening in biotech and so forth. Any kind of really game-changing technologies, has risks on both sides. So we need to be mindful and thoughtful and have a serious dialogue about it, but also not stop or mitigate the tremendous good that can also be done.
Thank you both so much. Cynthia, Eric, thank you very much for joining us.